Welcome to the State of the School of Medicine 2021. It's been over 18 months since this has been done. The last one of these done was on Dr. Kellerman's watch. And we have a pretty ambitious agenda this morning. We're going to hear about the inaugural coaches program from Dr. Remy, our Vice Dean. You will hear from me about our impact awards, the Kansas Advisory Group, OKRs, and then the meat of this is Dr. Whitcomb going over our AAMC survey and what we're doing for LCME planning, and then we'll have time for some question and answers for the Q&A session. If you have a question online, raise your hand, put it in the chat. We'll have someone monitor it. For those of you in person, just raise your hand. So I know we have an ambitious agenda. I want to start off by saying that based on what you will see from Dr. Whitcomb on our data, and I think our roadmap ahead, the state of the school is strong, even during what we would call challenging times. You all are doing phenomenal work, knocking the ball out of the park and setting the standard. So, and I think you'll see that in the data in a few minutes, and then of course, as well as with the chart the course that we've charted with our playbook, OKRs, and the like. So let's go ahead and start off with Dr. Remy and the inaugural coaches program. Fine, I'm gonna give you.
So I'm just going to show one slide, which you can see right now, which is we are starting now at the School of Medicine to begin to plan for the initiation of longitudinal coaching with the entering class of 2026. So the folks that will enter and start next year. This coaching program is modeled after some of the best that are out there in other American medical schools, but with our own unique uses twist. In other words, we're trying to produce not only physicians, but military officers. And so on the screen here, you can see the names across many, many departments. It's really been fantastic to see the level of interest and participation from a variety of faculty, some junior assistant professors, some of our more senior professors, who all have volunteered to engage their time in longitudinal coaching. They're going to be in a program of faculty development, working with Dr. Survey and others over the course of this year to get ready to start the coaching program next year. So I wanted to just congratulate all of these folks for volunteering their time and to thank all of you who are chairs and others who have allowed them to participate in this program. So thanks.
So one of the most rewarding parts of the job as dean is recognizing excellence. And I have an opportunity to do that right now with our faculty. So I want to present to you our 2021 Dean's Impact Award winners at every level: assistant professor, associate professor, and full professor. As I cycle through these, I'm not going to read every name. You can read it for yourself. These folks are doing a phenomenal job. If you're in the room, please stand up. And if you're online, please raise your hand electronically. So these are our assistant professors that have won the Dean's Impact Award. And you can see their names, their department, and then a brief write-up on the impact they've had. Obviously, you can't really summarize the work of one individual in one line. This just gives you a snapshot. Associate professors. And then full professors. Let's go ahead and give these folks both a real and virtual round of applause. In that same vein, I want to recognize the 2021 Dean's Annual Faculty Teaching Award. Remember, teaching is at the heart of what we do. And we have folks that are here within the National Capital Region and our national faculty. So let's start with the national faculty. Dr. David Honeycutt, Family Medicine at Nellis, and Alice Boersman, Department of Medicine at BAMC at the assistant and then the associate and full professor level. And then here locally, Dr. Beth Hawks for basic science, who's in P&B, and Dr. Granite in Department of Surgery. Dr. Granite's with us here, so come on up. Let's get yours out here. And let's turn around, take a picture worth framing, sort of. Well done.
Thank you so much.
So Canvas Advisory Group, Dr. Jackson's in clinic. He asked me to present this slide for him. As you know, we're transferring to a new learning management system, Canvas. For those of you whose kids are in the Montgomery County system, you'll recognize Canvas. It's the same system that they use. So Sakai will be replaced. We've had a number of faculty engage with this process, but we need more. So we've worked with IT to solicit volunteers to be part of a formal Canvas advisory group. And if you're interested in, we need people to do this because we need our subject matter experts working with the IT folks so that we implement Canvas appropriately. Please reach out to Dr. Jackson. I think everyone knows his email. Here's the abbreviated form of it. We anticipate that in the spring, activity on the conversion to Canvas will pick up and be ready by next year. So I strongly encourage you, I ask you personally to get involved with this because this is the backbone of what we do and it's a critical system. And it's time that we move to a 21st century LMS, and Canvas is a 21st century learning management system. But it's only as good as the input that it gets from us. I want to talk, just have a slide on the OKRs, the playbook, and the face chart. I think all of you, or most of you, have seen emails that have this document, our School of Medicine communication playbook, as well as the face chart that lists out the leadership within the School of Medicine, not only with their names, but with their pictures. This is modeled after communications that have come from the Department of Defense. So we're in line with what the DoD is doing writ large. And I just want to reiterate what the objective here is. So the objective with all three of these documents is to ensure that our objectives are clear, so transparency, that we are measuring what matters. You've heard me say that many, many times. I think it's really important. There's lots of things you can measure, but you really have to focus on what matters to the organization. And then know who's in leadership throughout the school. And not only the school, the university, the MHS, we've shared these documents with not just the School of Medicine, but other responsibility centers within the university. So when someone looks and says, oh, who's the chair of medicine? That guy, Kevin Chung, Dr. Chung, and I know what he looks like, I can identify his face. They're on our intranet page, so you can get to these documents. We'll be completely transparent with them. What's the periodicity? How often do we update these? These OKRs are updated every 6 months. That's kind of our business cycle. A year is too slow. Every 3 or 4 months is too quick. The face chart will be updated every 3 months to accommodate, the normal turnover that takes place. And the playbook will update once a year in the same format. Department and centers are working on their OKRs. The OKRs that are out now represent the dean staff and the overall School of Medicine. We had an offsite with the chairs and center directors asking them to replicate that process at scale. And you'll see those rolled out within the next 6 to 9 months. And as I mentioned before, transparency here is critical. These products will always be visible and feedback is always appreciated. If you look at these documents and say there's a mistake or missing something, reach out to us and let us know. This needs to be an iterative process. We won't get it right the first time. We won't get it right the second time, but every time we'll get better and better in moving the organization forward. So next up is Dr. Whitcup with the review of the AAMC annual survey. Pay attention here. There's some phenomenal data here. Really reflects the great work we're all doing. And if you look at the goals that we laid out, one of the things is to graduate the product the DoD needs. I think you're going to see some data here that really reinforces that we are achieving that, almost with a home run. So, just switch with you and let me get my mask back here.
Can y'all hear me? Okay, great. So thank you for the opportunity to present our review of our annual AAMC graduation questionnaire survey data. I'm going to stand back here just so I'm going to be presenting a lot of numbers. I just want to make sure I'm not constantly turning back and forth. So for those of you who don't know, this questionnaire occurs annually. It reflects the responses of 148 US medical schools. So that's over 16,000 graduates. And these are the graduates from the spring of 2021. The survey was conducted from February through June of 2021. And you will be happy to report that our response rate for our USU students was once again outstanding. 95% response rate by our grads as compared to about an 80% response rate from US students overall. So we think that this is a really nice representation of our students' feelings about the school and their perceptions about their education. So this first slide shows the strength of basic science preparation for clerkships. Students were asked to rate everywhere from over a range, a Likert scale, and these are the percent of graduates rating good or excellent. As you can see for USU, in almost all the areas, we are actually better than all schools overall. However, in a couple of areas, we are about the same or slightly lower. On this slide, you can see immunology and microanatomy histology are at or slightly below. And the next slide, pathology is the only one that's about what the all schools are, slightly below. All the others are above schools overall in the US. This slide, we can see we're looking at clinical experiences, how students report what experiences they had during their medical school career. So you can see that in 2021, the percent of USU students indicating they had the experiences listed above, and these included observed taking a history during their clerkships, observed performing an exam, providing provided midterm feedback by faculty or by their site director, and faculty provided effective teaching. And in each of these cases, the percent of USU students was greater than all schools in all categories. So there are a lot of numbers on this graph. All you need to know is that we are better than all schools in all of these categories for all of these clerkships. And again, this is looking at our clerkships, and this is how our students are rating the quality of their clinical clerkships. And these are, again, the percent of graduates rating good or excellent. And we are in each of these clerkships that are reported here, we are above the number for all schools overall. This is in the few years that I've been looking at these numbers, this is actually the best representation. We're well above all the other schools in all the clerkships. Okay, this is a slide that I really wanted to emphasize. As you all know, our goal, one of our main goals for our School of Medicine is preparing our students for GME. So this question addresses preparedness for residency. And in this, it's actually a number of questions in this slide and the next slide, both represent preparedness for residency. And again, this is percent of graduates rating that they agree or strongly agree. And we're really proud of these numbers. So in each of these domains listed on this slide, over 95%, in some cases close to 100% of students reported that they felt prepared for residency. So clinical skills needed to begin residency, understanding the management of common conditions, communication skills, and clinical decision-making and use of evidence-based medicine. And in this case, this is, oh yeah, sorry. That's a good question. I don't, they do? Oh, repeat the question. So what? Yeah, the question was, do these data go to military GME leadership? So these data every year are shared with department chairs, clerkship directors, module directors, course directors, our executive curriculum committee leads and chairs. We don't directly share this with GME leadership. However, we ask that department chairs share it with whomever they think is appropriate. So that's a good question. It's not currently something we do at this time. Did you want to say something? Okay, great. So, Dean Elster just said that his plan is to share these data with the GME leadership in the near future. So this next question is related to this. It's the same series of questions about preparedness for residency, and these are looking at some more specific domains. And what I want to highlight here, and the convention on these slides, if you haven't noticed, when the number's highlighted in red, that means it's less than the all schools overall, which is in the rightmost column. And I wanted to highlight here that in two areas, understanding of social sciences in medicine and skills to address social determinants of health, we are lower than all schools overall. However, the good news is we've actually, these are both areas that our new health system science curriculum is addressing. This is a class of 2021. So this class really had very, I think, maybe just the beginning of some of the curriculum that we were piloting in their third to fourth year. So we're anticipating this will be a good mechanism for us to look at hopefully the effectiveness of our health system science curriculum, at least in terms of student satisfaction with their perception of being prepared for residency. Hopefully these numbers will go up over time. We did see two areas go up in the past year. So the green asterisk represents that the percent went up by at least 2 percentage points. And in two areas, ability to care for diverse patients and populations, and skills to apply principles of high value care. We actually did see those numbers rise from one year to the next, and both numbers are over all schools overall. And please stop me if anyone has any more questions online. Okay, great. Okay, this next slide, these are adverse behaviors. Sorry, the computer is covering up the topic. So these are adverse behaviors experienced in medical school. This slide is a little bit different. It represents the percent answering never. So again, it's they're able to answer on a Likert scale. In this case, we want the higher the number, the better. Our goal is to be close to 100% for most of these behaviors. And overall, for USU, in all of the categories shown on this slide, we're at or above all schools overall. The very top one, where the publicly embarrassed, we're pretty much at what all schools have responded. And this was a decrease for us from last year, as represented by the red asterisks. And at the very bottom, being subjected to offensive sexual remarks, this actually has gone down. We're still above schools overall. Again, our goal for these is to be as close to 100% as possible. Publicly embarrassed is probably the one category that I think most schools, as you can see, we're right there with all schools. And so we're not quite so worried about that one, but pretty much all these other are, and several of these are pretty egregious behaviors. And so our goal is really to be as close to 100% as possible. The next slide is the same. These are adverse behaviors. And again, this is percent answering never. And we actually did see a decline in some of our, in how some of our students responded. So again, you can see in red are those categories where we are actually lower than all schools, received lower evaluations based on gender, subjected to offensive remarks based on sexual orientation, received lower evaluations based on sexual orientation. And in two of these categories, this was a decrease from last year. I will say, you know, obviously we're in all of these categories, the number of responses that led to these percentages are small numbers. Okay, so 1 or 2 students, but it's still not. It's our goal to get these numbers in a better place than they are this year. Okay, so this question, again, it's kind of blocked out. The title is, these are questions related to participation on an elective or volunteer basis. So these are non-required activities in medical school. I didn't list all of them. There's a number of other volunteer activities that we have reports on. I really wanted to focus on the research domain. This is an area that we've been working on. Dr. Marty Ottolini has spent a lot of time really trying to increase our numbers for this, the number of students who are involved. As you all know, research is not required for our medical students. And so, and our budget to support student research is not enormous. And so the work that Dr. Ottolini has done over the last, I'd say 6 years, you can see there, since 2015, we've seen the percent of students reporting that that they participated in these activities has risen. For example, participation in research with a faculty member has gone from 40 to 70%, independent study project for credit from 14 to 55%, authorship of peer-reviewed papers submitted for publication 36 to 51%, and peer-reviewed oral or poster presentation from 27 to 60%. If you look at the numbers compared to all schools, you can see only in one category are we above where other schools are, but we're actually, we're creeping closer and closer, and we're still lower than all schools. But again, the trend has been, really moving towards what we're seeing in other schools. Okay, and this is the slide, one of the slides that we'd like to track from year to year. And again, this is a good news story for our school. So this question is, overall, I'm satisfied with the quality of my medical education. And as you can see, USU, the number for all schools, going across the top from strongly disagree to strongly agree, and the numbers for USU for this year. And you can see that USU, 65% of students approximately, as compared to 39% of students from all schools, strongly agree that they are satisfied with the quality of their medical education. And if you take the agree and strongly agree together, so all students who endorse this statement, it's 94% of USU students compared to about 89% of students overall. And we've been at about 94% for the last few years. So again, this is a nice stable number, really a good news story. I think that's it for so that's it for the GQ planning. I've got the next group, but I'll take questions now. I'm wondering if that has to do with the question about value, high value care. If someone, so it's just a statement. Okay, so it's a statement about the, well, I will address it actually because it's a good point. So I think the statement has to do with the fact that our patients are they saying they're more vulnerable to? Okay. Okay, so I think what this individual is saying, if I'm interpreting correctly, is that in our population, our patients are less vulnerable to having poor, less than standard of care or poor outcomes related to because of access and because of the fact that our providers, our physicians, our nurses, all of our providers don't need to necessarily think about costs as much. I will say that value-based care is a really, really important thing for even our, maybe even more so for our military members or military physicians to understand. Yes, they may not need to be thinking about it in the same way that physicians from other medical schools going out and having to, manage a private practice immediately upon graduation may need to. But in terms of health system science and understanding value-based care, it is an important thing for our physicians to understand. I don't think that was a question, but I just wanted to address that. Any other questions any questions from in here? Okay, so the next the next update. For those of you who were not around in 2015, back in 2015, Bill Gilliland, who was in my position previously, led the team with the dean and all the deans and all of you as faculty to a very successful accreditation visit from LCME. And at that time, we received a full 7-year reaccreditation. Unfortunately, that 7 years is coming to a close here. And so in 2023, we will be having our next accreditation visit from the LCME. So I just wanted to, this is not necessarily our kickoff talk, this is really just a preview to our kickoff, which will probably happen in early 22. So LCME, for those of you who don't know, it's the accrediting body for education programs leading to the MD degree, co-sponsored by the AAMC and the AMA. The LCME itself is a 19-member review panel, and they've got administrative staff and peer survey teams who come and evaluate each of the schools that are up for accreditation. The purpose, for those of you, I'm sure most of you have been through accreditation visits in some way, shape, or form. It's to assure quality to stakeholders, in our case, to the general public, medical schools, medical students, GME programs, health systems, licensing bodies. The way the LCME structures its review is there are standards, which are statements of the expected level of quality or attainment, and elements that fall under those standards. And I'm not going to bore you all with the details today. You'll be hearing a lot more about this, and many, if not all of you, will be involved in some form to help make our way through this next accreditation visit. The steps in a full accreditation review, which we'll be facing, number one is completion of the data collection instrument and an independent student analysis. So there's both a faculty component and a student component, and both of them take a fair amount of time and resources and really effort in order to coordinate those. We compile the supporting documents. We have a self-study task force that'll analyze these documents and complete a self-study summary report. And then we have a visit. I will say since COVID began, all the LCME visits have become virtual. So for the 2022 accreditation visits, they will remain virtual. Ours is not till 2023, so we don't know yet whether ours will be virtual or in person. And they really have given no indication yet. It's really kind of every 6 months or so, they'll come out and say for the schools in this next accreditation cycle, we're going to remain virtual. And this is a survey team, and they prepare a survey report for then review by the LCME, and then we find out about the actions for our school, which is hopefully full accreditation. So the next steps, again, I just wanted to let you all know this is coming. You'll be hearing from me a lot more in the coming months. We need to set up our self-study structure, which I'm in the process of kind of starting to compile that. And then we'll probably be establishing our subcommittees in January to start work on the gathering the data for the DCI and beginning that self-study. So I just wanted to give you a preview of what's coming, and hopefully we'll have as successful a visit as last time. Any questions from anyone in here? Okay.
So time for question and answers. Before we do that, and we'll switch to the gallery view so we can see everyone. Just to summarize what you just heard from Dr. Whitkop, and a phenomenal job putting the data together and then leading us to the LCME. 97.5% of our graduates feel they're ready for residency, and 95% are satisfied. Let me say that again, 97.5% I'm ready, and 95% I'm satisfied. And any class that's an A or an A+. I mean, that's fantastic. And really a reflection of the work that the faculty, staff, and the whole school comes together to graduate the product that the DoD needs. That's phenomenal work. With respect to the upcoming LCME accreditation visit, not something to fear. something to embrace. It's an opportunity for self-assessment. We're looking inward, saying, you know, where are our blind spots? The cycle is very busy all the time. Go, 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 go. This gives us a very structured way of pausing and saying, where are our blind spots? How do we get even better from that A plus that we just described? So I embrace the LCME cycle. I think we're in phenomenal hands as far as the leadership and the team to bring us through that effort. So let's put the gallery view up top and open up to questions. Any question, there's nothing off limits. As you probably know from me, I'll try my best to answer it. I'll give you an honest answer, and if I don't know, I'll say I don't know. So questions from the audience, or from the in-person audience, or the virtual audience. And either raise your hand virtually, type in the chat box, or just speak. Who do we contact to participate in the Canvas trial? That's Dr. Jackson, K. Jackson at usuhs.edu. K. Jackson at usuhs.edu. And there it's typed in there. Other questions? We'll give folks another minute or two, and then I'll summarize if there's no questions. I'll give an update while we're waiting. The Presidential Search Committee, an email was sent out. The search committee has been established. Members have been identified. There's broad representation. You'll hear a little bit more tomorrow from the faculty senate on this. And there was a link sent out with the advertisement. And the ask is that our faculty, staff, students widely disseminate so we get a pool of the best candidates. So that's out there. That process will take some time, but it will be a good process. And I'm sure we'll be very pleased with the outcome at the end. Okay, so no questions from the audience. Anytime there's any questions you have of me, the dean staff, we're at your disposal. Email us directly, stop by, make an office call, open to you. Please review that playbook that we sent out. I think that's a great document. I think it will improve and give us your input. And again, thank you for the great work you do in getting the success that we just talked about. We didn't even touch on the research success in this meeting. That'll come up on a later one. But the research successes parallel what we're seeing in education. So well done, great team, and have a great weekend, and happy Halloween. Be safe out there.